Go grab something from your kitchen right now. A bag of crisps, a tub of yogurt, a bottle of shampoo, a bar of chocolate. Look at the part where it tells you how much is inside. 500 grams, 1 liter, 250 milliliters. And then, sitting right next to that number, there's a tiny letter, a lowercase e. It's small. It's easy to miss. Most people have looked at it 10,000 times and never once wondered what it's doing there. But here's the strange part. That little e is not a typo. It's not a brand logo. It's not the manufacturer being quirky. That symbol is a legal promise, governed by decades of law, backed by inspectors, tolerance tables, and a filling philosophy that quietly decided one of the biggest questions in modern commerce. The question is this: when a label says 500 grams, does that mean every single package contains exactly 500 grams? Or does it mean something cleverer, something more mathematical, and honestly, something a little surprising? Stick with me, because once you understand what that E actually guarantees, you will never look at a packaged product the same way again. Let's start with the basics. That symbol is called the estimated sign. Sometimes people call it the E mark. And officially, the character isn't even a normal letter E. It's a specific symbol with its own precise shape, defined right down to the curve of the line and the proportions of the strokes. It originated in European law, and it remains a fixture across the United Kingdom and the European Union. When you see it next to a weight or a volume, the manufacturer is telling you that the package was filled under a particular system. And that system has a name. It's called the average system. Now here's where it gets interesting. The average system does something that feels almost counterintuitive when you first hear it. It does not promise that every individual package contains the stated amount. Instead, it makes a promise about the batch as a whole. Think about it like this. Imagine a factory filling 100,000 jars of pasta sauce, each one labeled 500 grams. No machine on Earth fills 100,000 jars to precisely the same weight. There's always tiny variation, a little more here, a little less there. Some jars come out at 502 grams. Some come out at 498. That's just physics. That's just reality. So the law had to make a choice. Should it force manufacturers to overfill every single jar to guarantee that even the lightest one hits 500 grams exactly? Or should it allow a smarter approach? The average system chose the smarter approach, and it rests on 3 rules. These are sometimes called the 3 Packers rules, and they're the heart of the entire system. Rule 1. The average contents of the whole batch must be at least the quantity stated on the label. So across all those jars, the true average has to meet or beat 500 grams. Manufacturers cannot systematically short you. On average, you get what it says. Rule 2. Only a small, specified proportion of packages is allowed to fall below a defined shortfall. This shortfall is called the tolerable negative error, and the amount depends on the size of the product. For a 500-gram item, the tolerable negative error is a set number of grams, and the package is allowed to dip below the stated weight only by that margin, and only a small percentage of packages can do even that. Rule 3. No package at all can fall below twice that tolerable negative error. This is the absolute floor. There's a hard line, and nothing is allowed to cross it. So even in the worst case, even the lightest package in the entire batch, the law sets a firm limit on how far it can fall short. Put those 3 rules together, and you get something elegant. The average protects you over the long run. The tolerance limits protect you from being shortchanged too often. And the absolute minimum protects you from any single package being a genuine ripoff. That's the deal the little E is quietly making with you every single time. So why does this system even exist? Why not just demand that every package be exactly right? The answer comes down to trade, fairness, and a problem that sounds almost philosophical. For a long time, different countries had different packaging rules, and that made selling products across borders a nightmare. A manufacturer might fill a package perfectly legally in one country, ship it to another, and suddenly find it didn't comply with that country's standards. Every nation had its own inspectors, its own tolerances, its own definitions. It was chaos for anyone trying to sell the same tub of margarine in more than one place. The estimated sign was the solution. It became a passport. When a manufacturer puts that E on a package, they're declaring that the product meets a shared, harmonized standard. And in exchange, that package can move freely across borders without each destination demanding its own separate inspection. The E essentially says, this has already been checked against the agreed rules. You can trust it. Let it through. It turned 1,000 conflicting rulebooks into one. But the E isn't a free pass that manufacturers can slap on whenever they like. To use it, a packer has to actually follow the system. They have to keep records. They have to perform checks on their own production lines, measuring samples, recording weights, proving that their batches meet the 3 rules, and inspectors can show up and test products pulled straight from shelves. If a batch fails, if the average is short or too many packages dip below the limits, there are real consequences. So that tiny symbol carries a surprising amount of weight, both legally and literally. Now let's clear up some confusion, because the estimated sign gets mixed up with other marks all the time. First, that E is completely different from the letter E that appears in things like E-numbers, the codes for food additives. E100 and something, those are approved additives. The estimated sign next to a weight has nothing to do with ingredients. Totally separate systems that happen to share a letter. Second, the estimated sign is different from the CE marking you see on electronics and toys, which is about safety and conformity standards, not quantity. Different mark, different purpose. And third, the estimated sign is not the same as the unit of measurement itself. The G for grams or the ml for milliliters tells you what's being measured. The E tells you how the filling was controlled and verified. One is the noun. The other is the promise about the noun. Here's something that might genuinely change how you shop. Because the average system allows for variation, 2 packages of the exact same product, sitting right next to each other on the shelf, can legitimately contain slightly different amounts. One might be a touch over, one might be a touch under. Both are completely legal. Both honor the E. So if you've ever felt like one bag of crisps seemed a little fuller than another, you might not have been imagining it. You were witnessing the average system in action. And this is why the placement of the symbol matters so much. The estimated sign has to sit in the same field of vision as the quantity, close to the number, so you can connect the two. It's not buried in the small print on the back. It rides right alongside the weight because legally it's modifying the meaning of that weight. It's adding a footnote that says, this number is a batch average, controlled and verified, not an individual guarantee. Let's zoom out for a second because there's something almost beautiful about this whole arrangement. The estimated sign represents a genuine attempt to solve a hard problem honestly. Perfect filling is impossible. Variation is unavoidable. Rather than pretend otherwise, the system says, let's be transparent about it. Let's define exactly how much variation is acceptable. Let's protect the consumer with an average, a tolerance, and a hard floor. And let's mark every package that plays by those rules with a single, quiet symbol. It's a tiny piece of typography carrying an entire philosophy of fairness. So the next time you pick up a bottle, a bag, or a box, find that little E. Now you know it isn't decoration. It's a contract. It tells you that somewhere, a machine filled thousands of identical packages, a system measured them, inspectors can verify them, and the law guarantees that on average, and within strict limits, you're getting what you paid for. A single letter, easy to overlook, but behind it sits decades of measurement science, international cooperation, and a quiet promise printed on nearly everything you buy. Not a secret, just a story hiding in plain sight, on a label you've held 100 times and never really read. Go check your kitchen. The E is everywhere. And now, finally, You know exactly what it's been trying to tell you all along.